Hello everyone, I hope you guys are doing great. Welcome to your second class of SBL. This is chapter number 2, Leadership and Culture. Before we dive into this entire chapter, let's understand the importance in our SBL paper on the same. Firstly, the chapter weightage is not going to be more than 8 marks to 10 marks max. Right? This is the maximum that can come in your SBL paper. Yes, you never know, they can go up to 12 marks as well sometimes. But we are going to prepare full-fledged and holistically, so we are fully prepared for our exams. Another thing you need to understand that this entire chapter is broken down into two parts. The first one is your leadership, the second one is your culture. Right? Leadership has few theories you need to remember, which you can write in a very general manner as well. Whereas culture has very important model which you need to remember, which is called cultural web. We will be solving questions on the same, so there is nothing you need to worry about. But before you dive into the questions, it is very important to master the concepts. Now, when I start teaching you the concepts, there's an ideology that you will start thinking, Arey, this though I know, this though I understand, this though I will write. But there are few terminologies, keywords, which has to go in your paper so that the examiner knows you've studied from the ACCA study hub when you've come, that you have used the right material to display your answers. And that is the reason we are brushing up a lot of things. When I start teaching you this chapter, you will start recalling your principle of management subject from maybe BCom, BBA, okay, or an MBA subject for that matter. But it goes without saying that at the end of the day, we are writing an SBL paper, so our words better be derived from the study hub, right? Without wasting a lot of time, let's get started with understanding the chapter, right? You can see the introduction here. Let's just go through it once, okay, so that we have some good quality content for our answer. So you can see over here in the introduction area, it talks about excellent leadership. Excellent leadership involves having a team of capable and responsible directors, setting an appropriate tone from the top and embedding appropriate corporate and cultural values within the organization. Before we get into understanding who the director is and what is the expectation of leadership we need to set out of the director, let's understand in a normal balance what leadership is. Okay? Who exactly is a leader? A leader is someone who exercises influence over other people. Keeping all the political backgrounds aside, let's try and understand the first person that will come to your head when we talk about leadership is our MS Dhoni, right? The ex-captain of Indian cricket team. If you look at the qualities, he used to be called as a cool captain, right? Why was he called as a cool captain? Because he knew how to influence other people. Not just that, if you would even murmur something in other cricketer's ears, the person who's batting in front of him will be worried that what has he spoken to the other person, and he'll start losing confidence, right? That is a level of influence he had on people around, right? That is a level of influence he could have on his team and also scare the opposite team. Now, come back to your professional life. How do we perceive leadership when it comes to SBL? When we talk about leaders in SBL paper, we are referring to directors of the company. Why so? Because they are the people who are at the top, right? They are the ones who are dictating the tone from the top of the organization. Hence, there needs to be three important points when we talk about leadership. The first thing you can see over here, a leader is someone who can exercise influence over other people. There are three important parts of this definition are the terms of interpersonal, influence and goal. See, for anybody to lead a team, don't you think there should be more than one people? There should be more than one person. What is interpersonal? Means between persons. Thus, a leader has more than one person to lead. See, if I have to lead a course, there should be a student to follow it, right? There should be some student who is listening to it. What is the point of me calling myself a leader when I have nobody to follow me, when I have nobody to listen to me, right? So first quality of having this leadership concept fulfilled is interpersonal. What does it mean? That it should be between the people, between the person, which means that there should be more than one people in the group. The second is the power to affect others. How can you drive the team? What is the amount of power you hold to affect the decision of the organization? Power also comes from responsibility, power comes from status, power also comes from designation. That is the reason when we study SBL, when we discuss about the leadership concept, we always look at the directors because they are the ones who actually have a lot of power in the company. But at the end of the day, what is the point of having influence or having interpersonal skills when you don't have a goal, right? Whenever you look at MS Dhoni, for example, he had a goal that we need to win the World Cup. Same way, any team, if you're expecting yourself to drive as a leader, there should be a goal, right? There should be a goal. It's the end one strives to attain, right? This is something we try to attain. This is what defines leadership: interpersonal, influence, and goal. Now, are we going to buy hard this? Are you going to buy hard this and copy paste this in your paper? Not really. Whenever you ask a question in SBL, nobody is going to ask you a Kurdish question like, what is leadership? Explain. This is not a BCom paper where you can write things like this. Here, you're supposed to apply it rather. See, it's a very similar psychology. Okay, you know what the meaning is, but you don't need to explain the meaning to the examiner. Instead, you're going to apply these words in a certain case study. So right now you take it all in, and when I start giving you questions, you'll be including these sentences and you'll blend it well inside your case study. Okay. So this is one thing you need to understand about SBL. I keep telling every now and then that you are not going to by heart definitions. In fact, you're going to apply it in your case study and tell the examiner that, see, this is how leadership is applied. Okay. Now, let's understand some things from the definition given, right? You may still wonder what leadership is. First question, are leaders born or made? So see, we are understanding the summary of the chapter. Firstly, this is always a debate, even in our schools. No, we have this debate that are leaders born or are they made? If you remember in your 5th standard, you would have this debate competition that one team is given leaders are born, another team is told that leaders are made. Can anyone be a leader or only the favored few? Is there a particular trick to it, particular style, something that if we could learn it would transform our lives? Are these models we should imitate? Great leaders, okay, we can learn from. Do you have to be popular to be an effective leader? Can you be both well-liked and effective? The search for your answer to questions like these have prompted many studies, and unfortunately, none of these have produced a definitive solution to the leadership puzzle. See, please understand we are learning the history over here to understand where this concept of leadership is coming from. Now, why are we understanding this? So that our foundation is really strong. Okay? By the time you find the answers for this question, your chapter would be done. So this chapter is all about these questions, right? Because see, they will put you inside a case study and they're going to ask you things like, the manager believes that leaders are born and not made. And then you need to answer it. So when you answer it, your answer can be in 2 ways. One, it can be in the very generic style where with your general common sense you write your answer. But there's another way as well that you apply theory and tell your answer. We generally choose the latter, that is to apply the theory and try to translate our answer so that it impresses the examiner. Okay, so for us to be very confident and write our answer in an easier way, we need to understand few theories over here. Okay, firstly, one of the theories that is important in SBL is a trait theory. Okay, it's called a trait theory. Now, what does trait theory talk about? It talks about what exactly makes an effective leader. Who exactly is this effective leader, right? So there are some early theorists, okay, they used to believe that if you have traits A, B, C, D, as in if you have some qualities, A, B, C, D, maybe you look good, maybe you're energetic, maybe you have a certain height, then you're a good leader. If you don't look good or you don't have good strong energy, you don't have height, right? You're short-heighted, you're not a good leader. So this was a taboo back then. And this is where the concept also of trait theory began. So let's just have a look at what trait theory tells about leadership and let's see if it is right or wrong. Okay? The first theory is your trait theory, which talks about leadership. What does it say? Early studies focused on qualities required by the effective leaders. Lists were compiled of required leadership qualities, including physical traits like drive, energy, appearance, height, personality traits such as adaptability, enthusiasm, self confidence, and social traits such as cooperation, tact, courteous, okay, and administrative abilities. Now we need to understand what exactly does this trait theory tell. Trait theories is a theory where all the traits have been listed down in a piece of paper. And these traits are divided into three parts. The first one is physical trait. Someone's appearance, someone's looks, the way they are energetic, the drive they have in them will define their trait. The second, what they have put down is all in another category of personality traits, that how soon are you adaptable to a situation, how enthused are you, when it comes to taking a leadership call, how much of self-confidence you have, right? That is the another trait. The third trait, they have categorized other qualities in the social trait is cooperation. That do you know to talk well? Do you understand? Do you have courtesy? Do you have empathy? Are you good with administration, etc.? So for now, when we are reading the trait theory, all looks good, right? But deep down, I'm sure you're starting to get your thoughts, which says that, okay, personality trait, okay, that you need to have a good personality to be a good leader. Social traits is also good. You need to be cooperative, you need to be courteous. Physical trait, not very sure. Is it that a person who's short can't be a good leader? Just because someone's appearance is a little different and it doesn't fit in a particular frame, that person can't be a good leader? Just because a person doesn't go displaying energy, does that person not be a good leader? Maybe he's energetic, but it's not showing up to people. That is where people started questioning, right? Before they questioned, there was a list of qualities that they had listed down. See, certain other writers selected other personal qualities which were thought to be desirable in the leaders who are born and not made. Many great leaders were considered to have all of these qualities. Please understand, back then, very old, these theories are very, 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 very old. Since the leadership concept just began, these theories are existing. Certain few theorists, they believed that if you are having intelligence which is above average, you're a good leader. They also believed that if you take a lot of initiative and you're very independent in the actions, you're a good leader. If you understand that there is need to act upon a situation with the presence of mind, you're a good leader. If you are motivated 24/7, then you're a good leader. If you have self-assurance that you believe in yourself and you're self-confident, then you are a good leader. Helicopter factor, that is the ability to rise above a particular of a situation and perceive it in the relation to surrounding context. What is helicopter factor? Helicopter factor is that you need to look at a bigger picture of a certain situation. You cannot look at a situation from one angle. You need to look at it from the 365-degree. And if you're able to do that, if you're able to do it from the 360-degree view, then you're a good leader. Or other essential qualities including enthusiasm, social ability, and your integrity. So if you're honest, if you're enthusiastic, then you're a good leader. If you know how to be social, you're a good leader. If you have the courage, imagination, determination, and energy, you're a good leader. So these were all the qualities they had sat down and they decided that if a person has these qualities, he's a good leader. If he doesn't have these qualities, not a good leader. However, the problem with personality or trait theory is that there are always counter examples that can be given. For example, when one theorist suggested that a good leader must be tall, a short yet effective leader was identified. So you will always see that there's one person who will say, oh, tall person is always going to be a good leader. But then there's always an example. Okay, a stigma which is broken suddenly because a person with a short heighted also becomes a good leader, and that brought trait theory into question. When one theorist suggested that a leader must be tactful and courteous, a rude yet effective leader was found. Somebody like Hitler, who had this quality of being autocratic. He still turned out to be a good leader. Was he courteous? No. Was he kind to people? No, he was absolutely rude. But he still managed to be a good leader, and he could perceive goals, right? I'm not telling that the goals were right, but I'm telling you that he was able to perceive his goal in spite of being that rude, right? In spite of being very, very autocratic. So you don't have to cooperate all the time to be a good leader. You could also be autocratic, you could be strict, and you can still be an effective leader. And that brought the entire trait theory into a question mark, right? The question is now whether you believe in trait theory or no, right? If I have to conclude the trait theory, partly few things are fine, but yes, there are few things that could be questionable, especially when it comes to looks, it comes to energy, when it comes to cooperation. This is where we question the trait theory, and that is where the trait theory failed. Now, what are the types of questions that can come in the SBL paper? They can definitely put you in a situation where they'll form a case study very indirectly, and they will say that there is a director who believes that a person who is short heighted cannot be a good leader. Okay, or a person is not appearing in a certain way for that particular position, so he is not benefited to get that position. That is where you will challenge the opinion, you will question it, right? You will show your professional skepticism in your paper, and you will tell that no, this is trait theory, and it's always going to question the ability of a power of a leader, and personality traits are not always going to be the finalizing factor to create a leader. That is how you're going to work your answer out. Don't worry, we are going to do questions on it. You will get utmost clarity of how you need to find solutions and answer it. For now, I'm just giving you a whole picture of why we are studying this, right? The stronger the why, the easier the how. Then came the next type of theory. What does this theory tell? Now, this theory talks about your behavioral or style theory. Okay, this talks about the style theory. First, we understood the trait theory. Now, we are understanding something called the style theory. Even this theory talks about leadership style per se. The essence of leadership style theories is that a successful leader will exhibit a pattern of behavior, that is style, in gaining the confidence of those they wish to lead. Style is a difficult factor to measure or define. The style of the manager is how he or she or they operate, but it is a function of many different factors. Each leader has a different style. Take an example for that matter, that you're working in a corporate and you're reporting to two managers. Now, do you think both of these managers have same style of leadership? One could be autocratic, another could be democratic. One will be micromanaging you, other doesn't micromanage you. One manager will say, oh, you're 5 minutes late, you need to be on time. Another manager will say, as long as the work is getting done, I don't care what time you log in and log out. How is it that in the same organization, when you're reporting to two different managers, both of their leadership styles are different? This is where the style theory comes into existence. This is where we understand the style theory. Each manager has a very different style. And Ashridge created a model. It's called Ashridge Management Model, which speaks about 4 main management styles. See, the research at Ashridge Management College distinguished 4 main management styles. Sorry, what are they? Okay, what are these styles? There are 4 types of styles, and I'll give you an example for each of these. It becomes more clear to you. First one is a tell theory. Second one is a cell theory. Third is a consult theory. Fourth one is a joint theory. What is a tell theory? Tell theory is simple Indian parenting style. I tell, you listen. Do you have a choice to not hear? No. Right? Go telling your parents, I want to go to Goa. Is that a question in your household? They will say no. Is it a discussion? No. This is called tell theory, autocritic theory. How does this work? The manager makes all the decisions and issues the instruction which are to be obeyed without a question. This is called tell theory. So I'm sure you're able to recall somebody in your family who adopts this tell style, where there is no room for conversation. There is a decision that is told and you have to listen to it. This is called the tell theory. If a manager is adopting tell theory, it is called autocratic style of leadership, where he tells his subordinate that these are the requirements and you have to complete this by EOD, end of the day. But sir, I don't have time. I don't care. Please get the work done. Sir, I'm in the hospital. Doesn't matter. Come back and then work. Tell theory works in a particular fashion, which is autocratic, where I tell and you listen. Are you allowed to talk? No. That is tell theory. Is this clear? Tell theory is where I tell, you listen. Second one is your sell theory. For example, say I want to conduct extra class, okay? I actually use all the 4 theories in my classroom. That's why I'm able to tell you. Okay, say I want to conduct an extra class, which is very important for you. And you do want to sit in that extra class. I'll use the sell theory. How will I use the sell theory? I will try to persuade you. Okay, how am I going to persuade you? I will sell the entire theory to you. How? I'll say, you know what? It is very important that you have to attend these extra classes. Your chance of passing will increase after attending these extra classes. You might be sitting at home idly not doing anything. But if you enter the class, at least for that you will study. When a teacher is ready to teach you, why can't you sit in the class and study? Either ways I'm conducting the class. Simply you will have to watch the recording. Rather attend it live and close it. Am I asking them that can I do the class or no? No. I have already decided in my head that I'm doing the class. Whether you sit or no, the class is still going to happen. But I did not order you saying that day after tomorrow we have a class, please attend, full stop. Thank you. No. Here, I tried to sell the whole theory to you as to why this entire class is important, how is it going to affect your career, and I still continue to keep the class. Meaning, I still did what I did. Okay, I still get to do what I want to do. Nobody questions me, but I try to sell it to you in a way that you believe it to be true, where you feel that you're respected enough that I explained it to you. Say you want to tell me, ma'am, no, I can't sit in an extra class. Do you think I really care when it comes to a cell theory? Not really. In a cell theory, what happens is a manager will still do what they have to do. They will still do what they have to do, but they will try to persuade you to believe that what they're doing for you makes sense. It's for your career growth. It is good for you. It is benefiting for the organization. And they will put it in a very nice way. At the end of the day, in tell theory, you just give a decision and you shut the door on a person's face. But in sell theory, you welcome the person, you tell them that this is what you've decided, and then you try to persuade them and put them in the right direction. Do you really care about the subordinate here as to what they will think and whether they are comfortable with this decision or no? No, in cell theory, we don't care. In cell theory, you can see over here, see, the difference between tell theory and cell theory is something you need to understand. When we talk about tell theory, the manager has made all the decision. He'll issue an instruction which everyone has to obey without a question. Whereas look at the cell theory over here. What is cell theory going to tell you? Inside the cell theory, you call it persuasive style. The manager still makes all the decisions. See, am I asking you before making any decision? No, I have already made it. But believes that the team member must be motivated to accept them in order to carry them out properly. At least there is a benefit of doubt. At least there is some motivation that the manager has. So I will inform them why we are doing this. Maybe they will benefit from this discussion. But am I going to change my decision for you? No ways. Be tell theory or cell theory, my decision is not going to change depending on your opinion. In tell theory, I don't even ask for your opinion. In cell theory, I persuade you to believe what I'm doing is right. The third one, which is the most practical one, is your consult theory. What is this consult theory? Consult theory is participative style. Participative style. The manager confers with the team and takes their views into account, although still retains the final say. For example, you are working from home, okay? And I want to make it work from office. Say for 5 days in the week, you're working from home only. And now I want to switch to working from office. How am I going to do it? I will ask you that how comfortable are you traveling from your hometown back to office? Right? This is what happened during COVID. After COVID the whole COVID phase completed, and then employees were called back to work. There was a lot of resistance in the employees because now everyone was comfortable sitting at home and working. That is where managers were told to use its consult theory, that is participative style, where I sit down with you and I start telling you things like, what do you have to say from work from office? Is it easy to work from home? I'm sure you'll be working 12 to 18 hours and nobody is noticing it. What do you have to say? And I will ensure that you give your inputs. What is a decision I have made deep down in my head? That I want to at least ask you to work from office for 3 days, and 2 days I'll ask you to work from home. This is the decision I have taken in my head as a manager already. Yeah? Still, I don't want to throw the decision on you. Neither do I want to persuade you, but I still want to understand your opinion about it. Okay, so I'll get you into talk and I'll start asking you questions that what do you think about work from home? What do you think about work from office? And then you will open up to me. And then slowly I will slip it in the conversation and tell you, actually, the company has decided that we want to work from office for 3 days in a week at least. So it is good that you are also aligned with this decision. Yeah. And we'll ensure that you're aligning in the same. What happens in the consult theory is that you still get an opportunity to talk. A subordinate gets an opportunity to talk. See, please understand. In tell theory, I tell, you listen. Khatam. In cell theory, I will tell it to you in such a way that as if I'm selling something. I'm selling a product. As if I'm persuading. I'm pushing you to believe what I have done is correct for you. Okay, I still am courteous when I'm talking to you. In consult theory, I also talk, you also talk. But at the end of the day, what I decide still happens. But here, at least you get to talk. In cell theory, you don't get to talk, no? But in consult theory, at least someone is hearing you out. Someone is listening to your opinion. And they will still continue to do what they have to do. But you will still feel like, oh, they at least heard me before taking the decision. So that you feel good about it as a subordinate. In join theory, that is your next theory. This is a democratic one. Huh? The leader and the team members make the decision together on the basis of consensus. Okay, see, I want to get the work from home to work from office. Okay, we are doing a work from home. I want to switch it to work from office now. How am I going to talk to you? That I'll ask you your opinion on this. What do you feel about this? Right? Say you will feel like, oh, it's very difficult for me to travel 3 days a week. Can we make it 2 days in a week? What am I going to say here? Okay, 2 days it is. Now what's happening? You walk a mile, I walk a mile. We in consensus form a decision. This is how joint theory works. This is how democratic style of theory works. Got it? So this is how we would work around democratic style, where you and I walk an extra mile to reach to a particular point of decision, and then we decide from there so that we both win-win in this situation. It's a win-win for both. Clear? So what are the 4 style theories we understood? Tell, sell, consult, join. Tell theory, I tell, you listen, no opinion asked. Sell theory, I will tell in a nicer way. I will still tell, but in a nicer way, I will try to sell it to you. In consult theory, I will tell you and I will also listen to what you say, but I will still do what I have to do at the end of the day. In joint theory, I will tell something, you will tell something, we both will walk an extra mile, meet at a point and then make a decision together. So this is the behavioral style. This is the style theory. Now go back to trait theory. Suddenly you will find trait theory so impractical, no? So when you started studying in the beginning, when I started teaching you trait theory, you were still trying to find your ground into understanding what this theory is. But now that you reach to style theory, because style theory is so practical and it is something that we use in a day-to-day life, style theory becomes easy to understand, which is very practical also. So in the exams, they do ask style theory, right? There might be some manager who's adopting tell style. You have to switch it to consult style if the need be. Sometimes you have to switch it to sell. Sometimes you have to switch it to join style. So you should know exactly what kind of suggestion you need to give in the exam. While you do more questions with me, you will understand the depth of the answering capacity. Relax. For now, take it all in. Okay? Try to take what I'm trying to say. Okay? We will also revise so it will fit in your brain in the better way. Chalo, let's conclude of what we have understood so far in the form of theory, and this is something we have taken from the study hub as well, so that it becomes easier for you to understand. I'll read it out for you, okay? Ashwin discovered that the most people preferred operating under the consult style. See, if I have to choose a winner among all these four styles, na, consult style is the winner. Consult style always wins. The most important thing was consistency. Staff disliked it when managers changed between different styles. See, just imagine, no? Just imagine. I am very kind to you, okay? Say I'm a democratic leader. Every day when you come late to the office also, I say it's all right. You're having a long day. You're working so hard. 10 minutes you're late to the office. It doesn't really matter. Next day again you're late. And suddenly I start yelling at you. I start screaming at you in front of everyone. I put you down. I say, you're good for nothing. Don't you know that you need to come on time to the office? What has happened here? I was using join theory yesterday, democratic style, and suddenly I've swapped to the tell theory. And what are you going to think about me? As a subordinate, you will think, oh, ma'am has mood swings. She has some problem in her personal life. Correct? This is the way we approach people with psychology. But please understand, when you look at leadership, no, when there is a manager, he has adopted a theory, he shouldn't keep switching between theory because it creates a lot of distress and dislike among the team members. So if you see something like that in this exam, no, where you feel that the person is completely switching every week in his style of leadership, you should ask him to stop. This is not the way out. That is how we try and talk. Clear? Look at this, the second one. Levin, for that matter, worked with similar categories and concluded that in terms of productivity, right? In terms of productivity, here, 1 second, let's mark it. Levin worked with a similar category and concluded that in terms of productivity and satisfaction, it was a democratic style that was the most productive and satisfying. So Ashridge is a theorist who said that consult theory works the best. Levin, on the other hand, is another theorist who said that, you know what, at the end of the day, if you want highest amount of productivity, please adopt the democratic style. This style is more suited to the Gen Zs and the millennials, where nobody is micromanaging you. You come on your own time, you leave on your own time. As long as the work is getting done, we are good to go. It was most productive and satisfying. On the other hand, an autocratic authoritarian style was least productive of all and carried with lots of frustration and instances of aggression among the group members. So you see over here, democratic style was the most loved style. That is, a join theory was the best for people according to Levin. Levin also believed that the tell style, right? The first style, the tell style, that is autocratic style, was the most disliked among people. Right? You could also use the example of Warren Buffett as a hands-off, laissez-faire management style that is highly successful because he focuses on hiring very capable people, and the autonomy of these executives is a key for the success. Okay. Now we can see over here, there's another type of style as well, which is a laissez-faire. Now what happens in laissez-faire is that I tell you in the beginning of the day that you need to do this task. Okay? And my job is done. How you get the work done? Till what time you get the work done? It's all on you. That is how laissez-faire works. This is suggested by Warren Buffett. Okay, you don't have to write this in your paper. I'm giving you some extra gyan so that you have more confidence before you enter the exam in hall. Okay, what is important for you? Trait theory, style theory. That's the last PPT slide. This slide, not very important. Just for your extra knowledge, we are learning this so that we are much more confident when we enter the exam hall. Okay. On the other hand, if you look at Steve Jobs, who founded Apple company, was well known for his autocratic, authoritarian style and reluctance to delegate, so could be described as having autocratic approach. See, there were few people who worked very good under Steve Jobs' leadership because he was an autocratic leader. Autocratic leader means he used to adopt tell theory. But sometimes tell theory is also good. When you feel your team is not very motivated, they don't have a direction, okay, they don't know how to pursue or how to perceive the freedom you've given. That is when tell theory works a lot, right? Just imagine in the times of war, right? When there's a huge World War II happening, you think their joint theory or democratic style of theory would work? That, let's decide which gun are we going to use when the war is on, huh? That's where tell theory works. I command, you shoot. Simple, right? So in the times of war, joint theory, right, consult theory, all this doesn't work. That time tell theory only works. So it is not right for us to always say tell theory is not the way. You can't always say that, huh? It depends. If your employee is not very motivated, if they don't know how to drive their own work, if they have some difficulty in handling work, sometimes tell theory is also important, right? So to understand this theory in a better way, I'll tell you something. In the beginning of my classes, I always use the joint theory first. That is a democratic style of theory, where let's decide together if we want to sit for an extra class, if we want to solve an extra sum, you tell me what you have to say, I'll decide it with you. When 1 month is done for the exams, when your exams are basically coming close, we switch to consult theory. Ideally, you're not supposed to switch, but it is important in our case. So I use the consult theory where I ask them that, is there any extra mock you want to write? What do you have to say? I'm still going to make you write a mock, okay? But I will still care to ask. Then when exam is coming even closer, I will go by the cell theory that, you need to stay for long hours, let's study more technical articles, etc. And when there is just 2 weeks left and the pre-sin is out, I go by the tell theory that I talk, you listen. I will tell you what you need to study, just study that much. That should help you, right? That is how tell theory works. So what happens in joint theory? 2 people take a decision together. In consult theory, I will still talk to you, take your opinion, but I will still do what I have to do. In Hindi there's a thing, suno sabki karo apni, that is consult theory. Cell theory is I try to persuade you and explain you why something is important. And tell theory is I tell and you listen. There is no scope of argument at all. This is how this theory will work, right? So Levin's work indicated that this style was the least effective. That is, Levin always believed that democracy should be used in leadership. Levin said that ये जो authoritarian style है, that is your autocratic approach, not a good thing. However, Apple is the largest company in the world, right? 3.5 trillion in 2024. And this would not have been possible without Steve Jobs' leadership. And Steve Jobs naturally used autocratic style of leadership. So is autocratic style of leadership that bad? Not really. Okay, in some cases we need it. In some cases it is not necessary. Right? So this is the story of Apple for you to understand. Now, another interesting and the last one for this video. Okay, then I will continue in the next class. Now, for you to understand, there's another style of leadership which is called McGregor's theory X and theory Y. This is called McGregor's theory X and theory Y types of leadership. What is theory X and what is theory Y? Before you get there, let me tell you that there's a question on Study Hub also on this. You need to study this really well. You will find the explanation only very less over here, but when we do questions, you will get more clarity on the same. But theory X and theory Y is very, very simple, very important also for exam. Okay, it's exam friendly question also. If it comes, great. So what is this theory X and theory Y? Let's understand. Theory X, managers often take a pessimistic view. Now there are two types of manager. One is a theory X manager, another is a theory Y manager. Theory X manager, let's imagine, very negative, very strict. That is how theory X manager is. Let's read it. See, what is the book trying to tell us? Theory X managers often take a pessimistic view regarding people, that is negative view. Pessimistic view regarding people and believe that employees are naturally unmotivated and dislike the work. Hence, employee needs to be constantly rewarded or punished to ensure they complete their work. This is known as a carrot and stick method. Here, performance appraisals are used to control the employees. What is theory X? Theory X is a type of manager who believes that his subordinates are not at all interested to work. You have to punish them, then they will work. And if they work properly, you give them more rewards, give them bonus, then only they will work. Okay, hard to believe, right? But this is what it is. I'll tell you where we can use this also. When it comes to unskilled labor and semi-skilled labor, theory X is something that is used. Go back to your house, home. Have you seen your mom instructing the house help? Try and recall. What theory is it? If you don't, she'll always tell you, know what, lift your chair, lift the table, keep all the things in place, or she will not sweep the floor from that side. She'll not wipe the floor from here. Why? Because your mama probably is a theory X manager who believes that the house help is naturally unmotivated to work. If you don't tell her to work properly, she might not work. So the only way that's going to work out is when you scream, shout, yell and get the work done. And the only way Diwali cleaning is going to happen when you give a bonus. Maybe they'll be more motivated to do more cleaning in the house. That is how we work in the Indian household. So the same thing is applicable over here. Theory X manager always believes that employees don't like to work. You'll have to push them to work. And it is true, when it comes to unskilled laborers and semi-skilled labor, no, they're naturally unmotivated to work. They don't like to work. So the only way you can get your work done is by giving them bonus or by, shouting probably. I don't want you to write word shouting in your paper, maybe punishing. Okay. Ask them to stay back on Saturday, Sunday and work. That's how they punish employees who are naturally unmotivated to work. And this method is called carrot and stick method. If you do a good job, I give you carrot, else be ready for a stick. Okay. Here they try to go for a performance appraisal method where I will keep on telling you that, if you work well, your salary will increase. If you work well, your salary will increase. And I'll make you do more work. That is how theory X type of manager works. Then comes theory Y type of manager. Theory Y manager believes that people are motivated to like to work and hence they should be given sufficient freedom and responsibility. So this is a positive manager, nice manager. Everyone wants a manager like this, na? Theory Y manager believes that people are motivated and they love to work. So they should be given proper freedom and responsibility. Manager encourages employee to develop skills, participate in decision making. Here, appraisals are used as a tool to encourage open communication rather than to control the staff. So what does theory Y manager believe? And where can we apply theory Y? Theory Y kind of manager can be used in a place where a skilled employee is working. Somebody like you who will clear your ACCA, somebody like me who has cleared CA. We are not the people who needs to be told that you need to work. We are naturally motivated to work and because we are workaholics. In fact, the only thing you will ask us to do is to stop working. That is how you will drive your leadership. Correct? So in theory, Y manager, they believe that their team is motivated. The team likes to work. They want to work. So the only way they can be motivated better is also by giving higher salaries. But more than salaries, they like open communication. Okay, they are there for motivation. They are there to transform the company into making something big. These are the kind of subordinates you work with. And with such subordinates, you need to apply which theory? You need to apply theory Y managers. Theory Y manager should be heading such team. So McGregor's theory X and theory Y is very simple. They believe that in theory X, managers always believe that they have a pessimistic view. They feel people don't like to work. They should be constantly punished, or they should be given some bonus to get the work done. Whereas theory my managers are non-toxic managers. Okay, they love to understand the fact that, oh, my employees love to work. So this is how their thought processes. They give freedom, they give responsibility. They don't micromanage. They don't create any toxicity inside the environment. In fact, they encourage open communication because they understand that their team enjoys such communication. And this is how they motivate their team to get the work done. Both the theories are very practical, okay? Please understand, just because I'm telling theory X is a pessimistic view, toxic manager, no, it's not a competition of toxic and non-toxic. Both theories are equally important. Theory X is also correct way of managing, theory Y is also good way of managing. Both are fair enough. Both these are fair enough. Why am I saying that? Because in some cases now only theory X works. No matter how much you try to motivate, unless you don't show them the anger, or you don't show them that, there is a chance you lose your job, they will not work properly. So theory X is also correct in its own way. Theory Y is also fair in its own way. Okay. So there's a question that can come that, suddenly the manager has switched from theory X to theory Y. Now that he has switched from theory Y to theory Y, employees are completely clueless. They don't have a direction. Because when he was acting as theory X, he used to tell what needs to be done. In theory Y, he has stopped telling all this. So now the team is completely directionless and they don't know how to channelize their energy, and they're not able to take decisions like before. So it's a very beautiful question on this. We will solve it together, don't worry. But it's an important concept, right? So this is all about your theory X and theory Y. Here we come to the end of this session. Okay, what did we understand in this particular session? We understood that we are starting a chapter on leadership and culture, where we understand the traits. The first trait which we saw was the trait theories, right? So we understood theories basically. The first one was trait theory, where you understood that there are few qualities that define the leadership. However, to conclude, trait theory did not work really well, because it used to always put another person who would be short-heighted into disadvantage. Somebody who didn't have that particular quality would be put into disadvantage, right? So that is where the trait theory came to a dead end. Then came the style theory, where you have tell, sell, consult and join. Okay, that goes from autocratic to democratic, and all the four styles are equally important. At the same time, a manager should not be switching between four styles. I do, but manager should not. McGregor's theory X and theory Y, where we believe that theory X managers always have a pessimistic view and they feel employees are naturally unmotivated to work, whereas theory Y believe that they like to work. This is your McGregor's theory X and theory Y. Clear? I hope you enjoyed the session. I hope you had fun learning, and all this is going to make sense once we start doing questions. For now, you need to gather patience, because I understand it's a theory paper. You might be feeling that ye to mujhe aata hai, this to I know, right? So these are the natural thoughts you will get in your head. But please don't take this theory for granted. You have no idea how beautifully it will all fit inside your answers. Okay, and I promise you will enjoy doing the answers later. But please focus on theory for now. When you do questions, you will have so much to write inside it. But if you don't focus on these concepts, no, you will be out of sentences. SBL mein, what is the problem, Students know the answer, but they conclude it in 2 sentences. But do they give you marks for 2 sentences? You need to write minimum 10 to 12. So students find it very difficult to expand their answers, to emphasize on it, to articulate the answers in the right way. That is the reason you need to sit in the class, understand the lecture in the right direction, so that if you have to write something in your own words also, you can naturally write it. Why? Because your direction is set right. So that is why you should be understanding theory in the right way. This is about today's class. I'm going to see you in the next class with few more theories. We will also understand cultural web. Till then, happy studying.